One of the beauties of the iPhone is that it's portable. It allows us to shoot quality content pretty much anywhere. And it's also, importantly, lowered the bar to entry for content creators such as myself. But it's when you bring the iPhone out on a professional video shoot, or in my case, a semi-professional video shoot, that things can start to get a little bit tricky. So in this video, I've come up to London and I'm going to show you some of the mistakes I've made recently, how I've overcome them, and also some of the essential settings I found really useful in the Blackmagic app. I'm David, and this is D Talking Tech. Of course, we've all seen Apple using the iPhone on their events, and hell, it's even being used now on some mainstream cinema release movies as well. But I want to debunk the myth that the iPhone and shooting quality content, it's only for the elite, only if you're a filmmaker. We can all do it. Hell, if I can do it, you can do it. Which is what I've been trying to prove over these last few videos. Now, it's not to say I haven't made some mistakes, I've made plenty, but that's part of the fun of exploring what this phone can do. Now, sure, I wanted to initiate some change. I wanted to get outside of the studio. I wanted to start shooting on location. But it's all because that I looked down at the iPhone one day and realised just how good it is and how much capability it had in it. That's what made me excited. That's what made me want to come up to town and start shooting these videos for you. Also, it's given me well, I've done a complete 360-degree U-turn on my views on what cameras I should be using. I've got a Canon 90D, my only actual camera, but I've only got one lens, which is a f1.4 24mm lens, and that limits how much I can shoot with that camera. Also, there's a small fault with that lens. It means I have to keep detaching it, cleaning the contacts and putting it back on. But with the iPhone, I've got 3 great cameras on the iPhone itself, plus some other bolt-on lenses I'm using for photography as well. And it just opens up a huge, great world of opportunity to me. And that's what excites me. And that's why I wanted to come up to town today and just show just how good this iPhone can be and just what it can do. Not only have I got those lenses, I've got ND filters on here as well. I've got one ND filter for the Canon, but on here I've got 2. I've got a 1.5-5 and a 6-9, and I've got a black mist filter as well. So you see, with all the kit that I've got on here, I've just got more variations at the moment. But of course, it's getting out and using the camera that matters most to me. So I've been putting together a kit bag, and I'm really proud of it actually. I'll be showing you in future videos. I've kind of put it together over the last few weeks. I spent a few pounds on the things that I consider to be absolutely essential to be able to shoot on location at any time, just pick up the bag and run. And that's all on my back right now. Now, some of the mistakes I've made that I was mentioning a moment ago were to do with the gimbal. A couple of weeks ago, you may have seen that I shot a video up at Borough Market, and I decided to use the new Apple ProRes RAW codec, which is fine as long as you're stationary and it's on a tripod. The minute you try to move, there is no stabilisation in that codec whatsoever. You can't turn stabilisation on in Blackmagic, and I'll show you that a little bit later on so you can see exactly what I mean. So today, for consistency, and knowing that most of the day was going to be walking vlog type style, I've decided to lower slightly the codec to 422HQ. I'm recording in 4K, and I'm using the original Apple log as opposed to Apple log 2. It doesn't give me quite as much flexibility in post, but it's not bad. So those are the settings I'm using today, and hopefully they're going to pay off and actually look stable this time. Something else that may be of interest, it's probably worth mentioning, is how I'm actually shooting at the moment. I've got the white balance locked, but I'm basically shooting in Aperture Priority Mode. I think that's what it'd be called on a camera. Now, what you normally do, of course, I shoot in 24 frames per second, 24 FPS. You normally, using the 180-degree rule, you have your shutter speed set to double that to 48. And you could lock that down. But the way the iPhone works, I found out by doing a lot of reading for you, is that it likes to do this multi-layered thing. It likes to take loads of separate files and build them together and give you one file. That's how you get the best possible output out of your iPhone, and certainly when you're taking video. So what I'm shooting now is this Aperture Priority Mode. Basically, I have locked down the ISO, and when you lock down the ISO, the shutter speed is locked to the ISO, and the iPhone is taking care of itself. Now, hopefully, when I get back, and this is part of the risk of shooting, of course, because I've only got one chance of getting this right, the quality will be the very best I can possibly shoot in this codec, the 422HQ 4K Apple log, that I can get out of this phone. It feels weird going into auto, but I think sometimes you just got to allow yourself to let go of some of the settings and let the iPhone do what the iPhone was built to do. Another part of the plan that I had today was to bring you somewhere, actually. I don't know what your feelings are about Apple TV and Apple TV Originals. It's my go-to streaming service. I watch so much content on there. There's things like Blackbird Shrinking, The Morning Show, Bad Sisters. It goes on and on and on. But one of the standout, probably the standout series for me, is slow horses. In fact, I think I'm becoming a little bit of a fanboy because season 5 ended just last week and I immediately went back to season 1 and started to rewatch that. I just cannot get enough of it. I've got my Threads feed hooked onto it. My Instagram feed is all over slow horses and where they shot. So I thought, well, I can't be that far from where I live. So I decided to get on the train, come up to Waterloo, and I found out that a lot of where slow horses were shot was around the Barbican, which is why I'm now in the City of London on Aldersgate Street. And right behind me now, you might recognise, I think it's pronounced Aperture Priority, which is the Italian restaurant above which the offices of Slow Horses sits. It's actually genuinely a restaurant. The only thing I was slightly disappointed with was that where we see Gary Oldman, Jackson Lamb eating his noodles isn't a noodle shop. It is a cafe, but it's not actually a noodle shop. So yeah, I'm actually here on the set of, as it were, of Slow Horses. I just thought it'd be fun to bring an iPhone to the scene and the set of an Apple original TV series and show you what it's like in real. In that video that I shot at Borough Market a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that this gimbal that I'm using, the RS3 Mini, was a bit of a pain to set up. I stand by that. It takes a lot of patience. But the main problem was the tilt axis. Because the iPhone is so slim, it's a really fine line to get the tilt axis set up correctly. Apart from that, actually, it wasn't too bad. Now, a couple of you have asked, why did I buy this gimbal? Isn't it overkill? Yes, it probably is. But the thing is, when the iPhone is kitted out, it weighs just under 500 grams when it's got the case on, the ND filter, the SSD, and the receiver for the wireless mic. It's about 500 grams, and that's too heavy for most mobile phone gimbals. So that's why I decided to spend the extra money on this and get a professional-ish gimbal that I'm now learning how to use, and it's important to get to grips with how to use a gimbal I'm learning. But now I've got something that's going to see me well into the future. I'm kind of future-proofed, as it were. So if I decide to put a Canon on here, I've got one gimbal that will suit all of my needs. As I say, I'm really enjoying getting to learn how to use a gimbal. I didn't realise that was an art as well. Earlier on, I told you I've been using the Blackmagic app all day here in London to shoot, which I'm really enjoying now, and I was going to show you some of my settings. Codec-wise, all day long today, I've been shooting in the 422HQ codec because it's got stabilisation attached, a lesson I've now learned. Apple ProRes RAW and ProRes RAW HQ have no stabilisation. Resolution, I'm in 4K, there's no reason for me to shoot in open gate. And the colour space, because I'm in 422, I'm using Apple Log, not Apple Log 2. If we go into the camera section now, there's only one thing I need to mention to you there, and that's right down the bottom of the camera settings. You'll see reference source internal. That just means you get perfect audio sync every time. In audio, clearly that's where you need to pick out your microphone. I'm using the Hollyland wireless mic, so I've got it set to the wireless mic, and when you're recording the voice, the human voice, have it set to mono all the time as well. Media, that's important. That's where you need to pick out from your Files app your SSD to make sure that those larger codecs record directly to an SSD. It won't let you record internally to the phone anyway, but that's where you pick it out. LUTs, you can import some LUTs which don't generally bake into the recording that you're making, but they overlay, so you can see, rather than looking at a flat grey image, you can see roughly how it's going to look in Rec 709 at the end of the day. And the remote camera control, you can now use an iPad as remote control, which is a really handy upgrade that Blackmagic has just made. So I told you I've been shooting in this Aperture Priority Mode. What does that mean? Well, if you tap on ISO, then hit the plus, minus and auto, you'll now see that I've got a blue A by the side of the ISO and the shutter. That means that the iPhone is now in control. It's doing that whole recording lots of different files and then giving me one file at the end where it considers to be the best settings. It is odd giving up that control, but it does seem to work. Honestly, I've been using it all day long today and I think the results look good. To turn that on and off, all you need to do is hit that plus, minus, hit auto, turn it off, and now you can see that I can go and alter the shutter to 1/48, which is what I would normally do in that 180-degree rule because I'm shooting in 24 FPS. I would normally, certainly in the studio, shoot in 1/48. So that's talking about the Aperture Priority. White balance is locked. You can see I've got that locked down. Once you've got your white balance set, you don't want that to begin walking around at all during your recordings. And if you want to use the tinter tool, well, that just puts a tiny little bit of tint over the image. Today being overcast in London, I really didn't need to. But it's a function that I do actually use that in the studio. But this shooting in Aperture Priority has been a revelation to me. It's meant that I've suddenly got really high quality recordings when I want to come out into town and shoot away from the studio and get the best possible results. I'd almost finished editing this video when I realised there's a couple of things that I really wanted to talk to you about that I didn't have a chance to do last week in London. So I've popped out to Eton just to run through a couple of things with you. Which are the ND filters, showing you the effect that the ND filters have. We're going to also talk about stabilisation and where you find that in the Blackmagic app. And I'll probably also take the phone out of Aperture Priority, just so we can both see, when I get back, what the difference in quality is if I manually set the ISO and the shutter speed and see what difference that makes. And maybe if I've got time, I'll also record a little section in the highest codec in the Apple ProRes RAW to see if you and me think it's worth going that extra yard when you can, bearing in mind, of course, there's no stabilisation on it. So let's find somewhere to sit down and look at these ND filters. In fact, before sitting down to look at the ND filters, what I thought I would do, this is going to be interesting for me and hopefully for you too, is I've now gone into manual. So I've locked the shutter speed at 1/48. I've adjusted the ISO manually and it's cranked down as low as it can go, around about 54. And I've had to actually increase the ND filter from a 1.5 setting to around about a 3 setting because I think it was looking a little bit blown out. But anyway, it'd be interesting to sit down in the studio later on and compare these side by side. I'd love your thoughts and feedback when you see the files side by side in this video. Now, I am going to find somewhere to talk to you about ND filters and stabilisation. Well, I'm going to talk about two things now, the ND filter and stabilisation. As you can see, it's not a particularly bright day here at the moment. I'm shooting 24 FPS. I'm in 1/48 shutter speed, standard practice. I've got that locked at the moment. Doesn't matter if it's locked or not, but if you lock it down, I'm locked in at 1/48. And you can see with the ISO, even cranked all the way down, I'm still blown out. And that is where you need an ND filter. Obviously, the brighter the day, the sunnier the day, the more important it's going to be to you. But if I just pop this ND filter on for you now, you can immediately see the difference that that makes. I can leave the shutter now at 1/48. I can adjust the ISO slightly if I feel it's too dark. And this is only a very light ND filter. It's the 1.5 to 5 and I've got it set at 2. I can come in and tweak the white balance if I want to as well. I'm back in complete control. So this is a manual setting now, but when you've got bright sunny days and you want to shoot in log, that's where you need to have an ND filter on. Now, stabilisation is something else I wanted to mention to you, and that's by hitting that icon at the top there. You can have it on standard. I won't use extreme or cinematic as they tend to crop in a bit more, but if you're looking for stabilisation, that's where it is. Now, what I'm going to do is just show you in another codec which was the Apple ProRes RAW, where there is no stabilisation at all. So now I'm recording in ProRes RAW, and as you can see, the icon at the top is greyed out. You cannot go into stabilisation. There is no stabilisation. So just bear that in mind and choose the right codec for you. A tripod piece like this, fine. You can use it if you want to. Big file sizes, probably the best quality you're going to get. But just bear in mind that if you're doing something on a gimbal, from the experiences I've had, 422 is going to be the way to go. It's going to give you great quality, and also you're going to get stabilisation as well. With the light rapidly fading, this is going to be a really good test. I'm shooting in the highest possible codec, Apple ProRes RAW HQ in 4K, and I'm in Apple Log 2, which will give me more flexibility when I'm editing in Final Cut, because I can alter things like ISO after the fact, I can alter white balance, that just gives me more flexibility. But it'll be really interesting to see this footage in fading light up against the other footage we shot earlier on and in London last week. I've taken the ND filter off now because obviously the light's fading so much I don't need it. I am still in Aperture Priority Mode though, so I'm letting the iPhone do its thing. I've locked down the ISO, it's now governing the shutter. So we'll have a look how this works when we get back. The other couple of things I wanted to mention were to do with the phone itself. I haven't really talked about the phone itself. Battery life has been really, really solid. Hasn't got warm. Even when I was in London all last week shooting in 4K for all those hours, it didn't get warm. And the battery, I left home at about midday. I got through to about 4 o'clock at the bagel shop, put the power bank on then to top it up to about 60%, and then I had to top it up again on the train out of Waterloo just to get myself home. But considering it had been working all day long, shooting 4K video and taking a load of pictures, I think it handled it really, really well. And the body of the phone is scratch-free. It still looks like it's out of the box, and there's no micro scratches on the glass as well. So I think that Gorilla Glass on the front has finally sorted things out. So I think we've covered pretty much everything, eventually, that I wanted to cover in this video. Hopefully, we've covered it all. And if there's anything else you want me to tell you about Blackmagic, just let me know. Somewhere in this video, you will have found a little nugget, a little bit of information that you didn't know before, and it's going to inspire you and help you to go make content. Go and grab the iPhone that you've just spent all your good money on. Go and use it, go and create, go and enjoy. I want to inspire you to get out and enjoy your surroundings, enjoy your city, enjoy where you live. Honestly, coming to London and just showing you this wonderful, wonderful capital city of mine has been an absolute joy. If you've enjoyed this video, mistakes and all, then I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, subscribing does help the channel grow, it honestly does. And don't forget to turn on notifications as well. And you can get involved with the channel in other ways as well. We've got our own Discord server, Talking Tech. Details of how you can get onto that in the description below. I'm on Instagram, Talking Tech, where you can see all of my photography. And if you fancy getting a free, totally free video newsletter every single weekend, all you need to do is leave me your details on my website, which is talkingtechandaudio.com. I have loved being in London with you today, and I thought what I'd do now is leave you another video to watch. That one I made at Borough Market, where I made a few mistakes, and hopefully you can see how we've come on.